Well, a lot of comedians are under the impression that you have to do this cutting edge stuff. You know, you've got to be on the forefront of the cutting edge thing. And my basic response to that is wah wah. That cutting edge stuff, if your audience doesn't understand what you're talking about, then they're not going to get the joke. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're talking about.
Right.
So from a certain perspective, you know, what a comedian can talk about, you know, on a vertical plane is pretty narrow because you've got to touch base with what these people know. Now, where it goes on the horizontal plane is as wide as it gets, but man, and this goes into that whole thing about hack stand-up comedy material. I get some of those stupidest feedback that I could possibly get about hack stand-up comedy materials, like, oh man, you got to do stuff that no one else in the world has ever done before. And when people go down that path, it's like, well, if you do stuff that no one in the world has ever done before, then your audience isn't going to laugh because they don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So there, it's a stupid catch-22 thing that it just drives me nuts. I mean, you're out there for the audience first. You know, a lot of comedians have gotten into this me, I thing where it's all about me. It's all about what I want to say. It's all about me expressing myself. Bah! But if that audience isn't laughing, wah wah, you're in the toilet. You're done.
Right.
What's your comments on that?
Well, I think that the way to be avant-garde and the way to be edgy is just to be funny, because there's lots of comics aren't funny. You know, they make statements, they make political. You know what their political point of view is. You know how they feel about religion. You know how they feel about all sorts of things, but they're not funny. And I think that the more my experience, and that the more personal you are, the better the audience is going to relate, because it's real. And the audience can tell when they're being fed material, when they're being told jokes, and when they are being, and when you're communicating with them, when you're giving them your point of view. And your point of view should be, well, for me, my experience has been from the earliest time I can remember, when I would talk to people, people would laugh. And I didn't think about it, but when I was growing up, people would say, "Well, you're going to probably be a comedian when you grow up, aren't you?" Yeah, I'm probably going to be, because you hear that. Yeah, I'll be a comedian, I'm sure. Um,
Right.
but the way that my perspective is funny. I mean, the way I see things, the way I talk about things, is funny. And so the hard part for me was taking that I was naturally and moving it onto the stage. Because when I first started doing stand-up, I thought that a stand-up comic there were certain things that a stand-up comic did. There were certain things, certain aspects of comedy that I had to
It was somehow special or different
right,
than what you do in everyday life.
right.
And there are some differences, but the reality is there are similarities that people don't get. They don't make the connection of how the comedy mechanics are exactly the same that you use. The personality that you're going to use on stage, that's you. They don't get that part. It's all this fabricated mechanical, plug this into that, and hopefully it works, and then usually it doesn't.
Right, right. Well, and it's a matter of the audience. What the audience really wants is they want to get to know you. I mean, they want to know. They want to kind of get to know you, and the only way they're going to get to know you is if you let them into certain aspects of your life. And you should talk about politics, and you should talk about religion, and you should talk about family and all that stuff. But don't do it. Don't be dishonest. You don't talk about things because you think that this is going to get a laugh from the audience. It has to be genuine, and genuine is it's got to be real.